I have a very interesting story to tell you about Airbnb. Their founders almost quit because they had certain fears. Let's go through the story. You will enjoy it. So in 2008, both the founders, Brian and Joe, were in debt to amount of 40,000, and they were leading a very basic life. They had about two bookings per week. But their biggest fear was not failure. Their biggest fear was accepting that they had failed. But how did they manage to kind of come back from all of this? I mean, you know how big Airbnb is. It's bigger than so many hotel chains. It's more valuable than so many hotel chains. So how did this happen? Investors called their idea the worst business model ever. And they were urged to get real jobs by friends and family. And the fear of being wrong about their vision was crushing. But like I said earlier, they applied a small habit loop every day. Instead of asking, are we going to succeed? They asked themselves, what did we learn today? And this is a very powerful thing. Like I told you in my previous stories as well, make failures your learning moments. Because they were small, they could go to every host themselves in the New York area, personally visit them, take professional photos, solve problems face to face, understand the customer pain points, which usually hotels cannot do because they don't step out of their comfort zones. They don't step out and see what the customers want. Customers just come to them, right? So, because of their small size, they could leverage this particular, let's say, strength that bigger hotels did not have. So the unscalable approach, which the investors kind of called them, they that feared would limit their growth actually became their competitive advantage. They built a lot of trust. They built a community that large corporations could never replicate. And their willingness to do things that didn't give scale initially gave them insights about the customer, which helped them scale later. So by 2020, Airbnb was most worth more than traditional hotel chains because they conquered their fear of starting small. And this is a very big lesson for all startup founders. We straightway want to grow big. We want to scale really fast. But here's the thing: I always tell a lot of entrepreneurs this, and even people who are starting in the technology space, I always tell them, do the automation once you've understood the manual processes, right? Unless you've done that, don't automate anything. Don't spend time in automation unless you have the crux of the problem with you. A lot of startups might feel unscalable when they start, but trust me, if you have understood a customer pain point, or if you found a way to do something better than others, you can scale it. So in business, your biggest limitation often becomes your greatest advantage. Once you stop fearing it, you start leveraging it, just like how Airbnb founders did this. Amazing, right? I was very inspired by this story. And it gave me a lot of confidence of starting small. Like, even with this course, what I'm doing right now, I'm starting small. I'm putting my first level of knowledge out there. I'm checking with you whether this works for you. Is this helpful? So that I can build more on this, right? Instead of converting all my knowledge into courses, I want to convert or create modules which are actually giving you that transformation, which transform your thinking, or the way you do things, or simplify things for you. I'm more interested in those kind of modules. So if you have some feedback for me, please do not hesitate to share. So I'm going to delve deep into this particular point. Your fear patterns are predictable and manageable. One thing you must understand, all of us have fears, and they are typically similar fears: rejection, failure, I won't be successful, whatever. But if you identify these patterns and you start naming them, so if I start writing down what I fear, I'm normalizing my fear, right? But if I hold it inside, I will not be able to control it. I will not be able to work on it. I'll give you a very simple personal story. Um, about 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, I developed a fear of flying, you know, in the plane. And this happened after I went through a very turbulent short flight, but very turbulent flight. And the next flight that I took, I had to take a medicine. I'd never done that. I mean, I used to enjoy flying. But I was going through a lot of stress on my startup side, you know. And at that point, I didn't know how to handle that stress or how to manage that stress. But what helped me was uh, my resilience, one of the things that I started to do was I started to analyze my fear. I said, why am I fearing something that I never feared before? Right? What am I afraid of? And then I started reading about it. And I found out that a lot of people have the same problem. And a lot of people on the internet had given solutions how to handle this problem. So unless I normalized that problem for myself, unless I accepted the problem, unless I was honest with my own self, I could not solve the problem because I knew I'm young. I want to travel the world. Travel is one of my biggest passions. Um, I want to see a lot of things. How will that happen without flying from one place to another? I can't live with this fear. I have to work on it. So that one thought led me to fixing the fear. So once you understand your fear patterns, you can make them predictable and you can make them manageable. So I knew exactly what to have on my flight, exactly what to do a few hours before my flight, all those things. And slowly, I didn't have to do any of it. I have ridden myself of fear of flying. And that's something I'm extremely proud of. Now, that gives me a lot of confidence. When you break patterns like that, you can break more patterns like that. So you can manage your fear. I hope that helps you.